I don't understand why we're insisting on a passing game that's pretty much predicated on longer developing routes when there's never any time for those routes to develop. Like, it boggles my mind that that's the offensive scheme when you don't have the protection for it. Welcome to the jungle, Bengals fans. I'm Kyle Phelps, and it's starting to feel like 2020 all over again. No, I'm not talking about the pandemic or anything like that. I'm just talking about the Bengals and their propensity to almost win games out of nowhere after, really not a whole lot during the game, only to bangle it up at the end and just come away with a loss pretty much every week. I think we all got a little spoiled in 2021 when things tended to go our way more often than not, but, rest assured to any of the new fans out there, that's definitely not the normal experience of being a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Things tend to not go our way more often than not, and last year was weird. But anyway, before we really get into breaking this game down, I just ask that you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. It really helps my channel grow, and it helps you to keep up with my videos. Alright, so what the hell do we even make of this team at this point? We do know that this is a confounding football team that suffers from the same issues that have plagued them ever since the Zach Taylor era began after taking over from Marvin Lewis in 2019. The Bengals have been playing close games for years. Even last year, other than, the divisional games, most games came down to the wire at the end. Obviously, they destroyed the Ravens and the Steelers when they played them, but most games were very close games. And it didn't matter if it was a high-quality opponent or not. They played the Kansas City Chiefs just as closely as they played the Jacksonville Jaguars, which was kind of infuriating, but they kept winning, so it was okay. The difference? Like I said, in 2021, games tended to go their way. In 2021, the games tended to go against them. Quite frankly, the Bengals didn't deserve to win either of their last two games. They're 0-2 for a pretty good reason. Last week, it was because the offense was totally anemic until, later in the game, and the special teams had a few huge miscues that led to the result that we saw. This week, it was a lot of the same, although, in fairness, the special teams looked a lot better. And can I just say real quickly, thank God Cal Adamitis doesn't suck, because that was infuriating last week. We had Cal Adamitis last week instead of Mitchell Wilcox, we would have won that game. Just saying. Now, to be fair, the defense, which was so instrumental last week, they got off to a really slow start this week. In both of the Cowboys' first two drives, they scored touchdowns. Backup quarterback, I don't know what it is about backup quarterbacks in the Cincinnati Bengals, but backup quarterback Cooper Rush completed 6 passes on 8 attempts for 111 yards and a touchdown on those first two drives. The defense, they really dug in and held the Cowboys to only 6 more points the rest of the game, but we should acknowledge that the defense was certainly far from perfect this week. Also, I just wanted to point out a concerning trend I'm starting to notice. First of all, congratulations to the offense for not turning the ball over today. That was a huge turn of events after last week's 5-turnover game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the defense kind of seems allergic to turning the ball over. I also noted during the game, by the way, if you don't follow me on Twitter, consider this an invitation, consider this a reminder. @KylePhelps92 is the handle, and you won't regret it. But anyway, I tweeted out my frustration about the defense's inability to come up with any turnovers last week or up to that point this week. And at the end of the day, as good as they've been at getting off the field without allowing many or any points on any given drive, part of a great defense is forcing turnovers and giving your offense extra opportunities to generate momentum and get into a rhythm. Of course, the second I tweet that out, on the very next play, Von Bell forces Dalton Schultz to fumble and DJ Reader recovers it, with the Bengals incredibly down only 1 possession at that point late in the third quarter. So that was great and slightly annoying for me, but it worked out because they got the turnover at a really crucial time. Unfortunately, the anemic Bengals offense totally squandered that opportunity. But, the defense did force a punt on the following drive, and the Bengals finally punched the ball into the end zone. That, plus a 2-point conversion, despite Tony Romo insisting that the Bengals don't need to be so aggressive and should have taken the field goal and not going for the touchdown, it meant that the Bengals had tied the game against all odds. Somehow, this game's turning out just like last week. We have an opportunity to win. I don't know how we did it, but, we're right there. The defense did a great job of getting the ball back to the offense, but unfortunately, the offense couldn't manage to move the ball more than 8 yards on the next 3 plays. I'm still not sure why Joe Burrow decided to throw the ball to Tyler Boyd behind the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 3 with the game on the line, but whatever. We didn't get any crazy-ass fireworks and weird extensions to the game like we did against the Steelers last week. The Cowboys put together a few big plays to get into field goal range for Brett Maher, and he converted as the clock expired. That's pretty much just how this week's game went. So, now the Bengals are 0-2, and I'm sure by now you've all heard endlessly about how rare it is for a team to start 0-2 and make the playoffs. Don't forget there are 17 games now, so there's now 15 games to recover from an 0-2 start. 15 games before would have been, coming back from an 0-1 start. There have been plenty of teams that started 0-1 who made the playoffs on a 16-game schedule. So I just don't feel like 0-2 is a death knell anymore. It definitely sucks, and 0-3 could be really tough to come back from. I get it. So honestly, just better take care of the Jets next week. We have an opportunity to be 2-2 in 2 weeks, but we actually have to do it. Finally, before we finish up, I want to take some time to address Zach Taylor. To be clear, as many of you know, I am a huge Zach Taylor supporter, and I have been for his whole Bengals career. I was even rooting for him to get the job before Marvin Lewis even got fired. I like him. I like his spirit. I like that I ain't hear no bell type mentality that his teams and his players always seem to have, no matter what the circumstances are. It's such a refreshing change of pace from Marvin Lewis's teams, which almost always seem to shrink in the face of adversity. They gave up when things got hard. Not always. 2009 was great, but a lot of those Marvin Lewis's teams just did not, have that fight in them going all the way to the end of the game, and Zach Taylor's teams do. That said, it is harder and harder every week to justify some of the stupid crap that we're seeing on the field that is really pretty much traced back to Zach Taylor. The state of the offensive line has been atrocious during his tenure, no matter who they put out on the field. Hell, the Bengals even went out and spent $89 million this offseason, and Joe Burrow still leads the NFL in sacks by a pretty wide margin. He's got 13 on the year, and the next closest is Jameis Winston at 10. It's bad, guys. It's really bad. I fully expect the offensive line, to get better as they gel together, but I don't understand why we're insisting on a passing game that's pretty much predicated on longer developing routes when there's never any time for those routes to develop. It boggles my mind that that's the offensive scheme when you don't have the protection for it. The fact of the matter is this team's lack of preparedness every week. Both of these last 2 weeks, the reason that they lost is because they were completely unprepared going into this game. It's time to stop playing games. There's still plenty of time to turn this season around, but there are a lot of concerns that need to be addressed right now with a Who Dey! And you're not going to turn the season around if you don't address those concerns. But that's pretty much all I have for this week, guys. I'm trying to keep these videos a little shorter because I know that it can be a bit cumbersome to commit to a week's worth of 15-minute videos, so I'm just trying to put them out a little shorter. Let me know what you think of this new format in the comments, and I'll feature the best comments in my next video, as I always do. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. You can always find more of what I do at KylePhelps92 on Twitter, Facebook.com/ThePhelps, my written work at ATBNetwork.com, the Battle of Ohio podcast, which is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and right here if you subscribe. We've still got 15 more games to go, guys. I know it looks rough right now, but please don't give up hope just yet. There's still time. As always, I'll leave y'all. I don't understand